Oh, Tanya, baby, how you feel?
Pretty good.
Today was a lot, right?
Today was a lot. I think the outcome and just being able to watch you work, but also being able to feel like, oh my gosh, this is for me. It was pretty impactful for sure.
What does that mean to you? To be in an arena like this, being on set, watching education, learning a few things, what does that mean to you?
Honestly, like I definitely have a greater appreciation for the industry. I think when you see the videos and, you're in the chair as a consumer or as a customer, it's like, oh, wow, like, yay. I come in, I'm greeted, I'm treated like a princess, and then I go home looking like a princess. This was a part of the work and a part of really expanding your work. And so I can't even explain like how humbling, but also, fulfilling it was to be a part of this for everybody.
I have a great appreciation for you. Thank you for that.
sure.
I feel like it was important to have you here because I wanted people to see what I do every day.
Yeah.
I wanted them to see who my community looks like, what type of hair they have, who supports the business that I've grown and the styles I've grown into.
Absolutely.
So again, it was important for me to have you specifically here because you've been with me ride or die day one.
Listen.
Hardcore, right? Like,
Listen.
straight up.
I mean, to the longevity of this hair journey that we've both been on together, I feel like from day one, with all of my experience with extensions, different methods, different textures, this is the first time that I can actually wash my hair and not have to do extra processing or extra product to help straighten it out, or like there's a confidence that it took me years to even appreciate my natural texture.
Can we pause right there?
Yeah.
Because I want to ask you about that. Like,
sure.
when you think about, like, as a woman of color,
Yeah.
who enjoys versatility, who likes nice things, who invests in nice things,
Absolutely.
who lives a particular lifestyle, who's a professional, people see you, they know who you are, they appreciate you for who you are. What has your hair meant to you in that space?
Well, I think that's such a good question. I think part of me and the many modes of Ochanya, you're right, that there's the professional, there's the fun girl, there's the cool kicking it with my friends, but I'm always the undertone of baseline, right? Like, this is who I am. My hair is a part of my brand. My boss, I'll never forget it. My boss made a comment about how he's never seen a brand like mine in our company, like this fast. And when they think Ochanya, they think about how I interact with my customers. They think my style, my personal style, on screen, on Zoom, in person, conferences. Being able to bring this version of me is a whole different element of, and I'm also this, and I can also do that. And there's still the professional. There's still the Ochanya everybody loves and adores, but there's a conformity that I don't have to worry about.
You have always been my guinea pig. And we've definitely never professionally been in the same spaces. I mean, we have similar friend groups and things like that kind of touch, but as far as the worlds that we live in,
very different.
Very, very different. But you have always been the first person, I learned something new. Hey girl, like, can I try this on? Or you would request something of me. I remember one of the first installs I ever did on you, and we opted to go for straight hair. Why do you think we did that?
I think at the time, like, I was straightening my natural hair a lot. I love the versatility of my hair. I think because I've never relaxed it, I've never had, aside from a few color treatments here and there, I don't really put chemicals in my hair. And so at the time I was wearing my hair in a smoother way or flatter texture. I think I was also still learning the importance of products and product management. I think that's a huge component of education when learning how to appreciate your natural texture. And so I wasn't there yet. When we started playing around in hair, I wasn't there yet. And I was like, just get it as long as straight as possible. I'm trying to look like Ochanya Barbie, basically. That was my Barbie phase.
Yeah, I nicknamed you after that.
We did. Ochanse, full effect.
Yeah. You mentioned or you used the word conformity.
Yeah.
And so it's the reason why I asked you about that. And I realized that even like part of my hair journey is a little attached to yours because we've been friends for so long.
Sure.
Right? And we've tried all those things together. But I think for me, when you said conformity, I was triggered because it wasn't until the past few years that I was even comfortable in professional spaces wearing my natural texture.
Same.
And it wasn't because I didn't want the versatility. It's because I thought I needed to look and act and be somebody else.
Yes.
And it wasn't that somebody else was somebody different. It was just another piece.
It was another piece
of me. It was another personality, so to speak.
And even still, I think because of the differences in our industry, as an artist, you're kind of expected to bring the fresh, differential, like, okay, one day I can do this and one day I can do that, and that's a part of your brand. For me, I think, you know, every so often, like, I'll still get a comment like, oh, did you cut your hair? And I'm like, no. Right? Like, there's a learning curve there. And also, honestly, like a very delicate dance of how much do I feel like educating you on my hair journey, and how many questions do I really need to, you know, and because I value the people I'm around, like, I don't mind doing that work, but there are a lot of us who won't.
What does it mean to you to be able to have that realism or that realistic conversation about your hair versus, or up against, not versus, your hair against who you are?
Sure.
What does that look like for you, or what has that meant to you?
It's meant a lot, especially, you know, with a lot of the webinars I do, and, you know, I have a global audience also. And so one webinar, I might be bone straight, like Ochahantis down to here, like my wedding hair.
Yeah.
Beautiful wedding hair, right? But then the next, you know, webinar, I might have something like this. And it doesn't change the content. It doesn't change my expertise as a resident expert on what, you know, we're talking about. It doesn't change any of those things. And the takeaway value isn't diminished because my hair looks different. And just that intrinsic understanding for me is satisfying.
You know, you said that it doesn't take away for what you were doing.
Yeah.
But I recall, and even in my own industry, I wear my hair one way and the next day I don't, and I walk into a room and people don't remember who I am.
Yeah.
That's a big piece.
Yeah.
Where I walk into the room and I'm representing the brand, and I'm not looking, or my hair isn't specifically looking
Befitting
like
the
part
Mm-hmm.
because of branding, because of expectation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we gave you extensions today. This is a method. It's not new to you, but I think this is your third install that we did with you. And I was asking you to do it, but we were even scared at first because we were stepping into something new. We wanted to make sure you were able to manage it the way that you wanted to be able to manage it.
For sure.
But we made a comment. We were like, we often joke with you, right? Because you're the one you give everybody nicknames.
I'm the salon team.
Right. Like, that's all of that. But you joked, you were like, because we were talking about giving, you know, a name to some hair, like your alter ego, right? And
yes.
You can only say your own name.
This is Ochanya. This is Ochanya.
Can you share how you felt at that time?
Wow. Seen. Visible. Authentic, I think, is a good word for it. And it doesn't mean that my other vibes were any less me.
Yeah.
But to not have to modify or adapt or change like anything. My hair is doing exactly what it wants to do right now. And the freedom I feel on my head, like, I know this is a fresh install, and, you know, it's
like fresh install.
We love a fresh install. But I think that, you know, my natural curls in between these rows are just like, hey, hi friends, you look like me. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but that's really, this is Ochanya's hair. Not because, you know, I would have paid for it, or not because somebody I trust with my tresses did it. Like, this is Ochanya's hair. And that's a vibe. I'm here for it.
You look good. It was interesting when we were going through things. I wanted to leave some more length, and I got to cutting because I felt one.
You did. I was like, okay, Carla Scissorhands, what are we doing?
There were two reasons for that. So technically, right, like, I still got to do my job. I need to look and perform a certain way. But I felt good about the energy I was getting off of you the more I modified it to fit you.
Absolutely.
Fit your hair so that your hair could do what it was going to do and just kind of live in the space it was supposed to live in. Right. That was important to me. I think sometimes as a stylist, like, I take for granted the fact that, like, okay, again, we talked in trainings and amongst our community, we talk about, like, what a benefit and blessing it is to be able to change people's lives in a matter of hours. Mm-hmm. Every hour, every 2 hours, every 4 hours, something new and great is happening. But it's rare that I get a moment to sit in the space and be like, wow, I'm watching this hair breathe. Like every cut I made, something would spring up. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go with it. And I would do something else and I would do something else. And then I got to a point for me as an artist, I'm looking at it like, dang, this is living and breathing. And it's not just somebody sitting in a chair receiving a service. This
Absolutely.
is something that's happening and it's becoming.
Yeah, no, that makes me think about at least the way my appreciation for extensions work has changed. I think in the beginning of this journey for me, extensions always equated length. Part of having a texture that's so close, if not spot on identical to mine, I think it's more about the volume for me, but also having a bomb ponytail, which I'm really excited about, by the way. We love us a top knot. We love us a pineapple. Really excited about that, especially like in the dead of summer in Ohio. Like, pull it up and just go. And so I think I am finally comfortable in my hair journey with extensions specifically, where I hear those scissors come out and I'm not like, oh man, right?
That's real.
Because people pay for length. A lot of times people pay for length and they're expecting to walk out looking like Rapunzel, and that's not always the goal. And so I think just the education through the process of understanding the why behind the what, like I have learned so much, not just throughout like everything and every style we've tried, but just today alone, you know, like you explain, I'm doing this because, and it's like, okay, I got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the final, look, and then the reveal is just like, I get it. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Right. And there's an appreciation for that, for sure.
I'm glad you mentioned length, because that's something I feel like as someone who has coily hair, the length is always an issue because, like, I mean, even I've worn pixies. We both have cut all of our hair. I mean, I cut your hair off the Costco. Thank you. That was real sweet of you.
It was so cute, though. It was fun. It was so cute.
But we both gone through this thing where all of a sudden you start growing your hair out and you're like, I just, hold on. And I'm not saying that.
Then you hold your hand different. Like.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's different from any other person that we know that wants to see longer hair, but we associate texture. Part of it is associated texture and not connecting with our texture because we feel like we can't accomplish a particular length, that our texture, gravity is doing other things with our hair, right?
Yes.
Like the texture, I can grow the length and I can stretch it out and press it out and have, shoulder length hair or whatever. But when my hair is in its a natural state, it's above my shoulders. And that's always been the thing for me. It was a shrinkage. We were like doing sew-ins and wearing stuff down to our butts, which was great. I will slap in some rolls real quick and it would be all the way to my waist. And I'm good with that.
Period.
But it was happening in a way we were ruining our hair. We were pressing it out too much, trying to over manipulate, doing all these things to match something that just wasn't for us in that season.
In that season. That's the distinction right there in that season.
Yeah. You and I, so like this was like a different experience for us, right? We traveled out here, we did some things, and you're just a beautiful model, thank you. But we in this same season will turn around and do something totally different with your hair because of what you might be looking for. And that's specifically like coming from IBE and maybe doing something else. As you're sitting here, you have a fresh install, you have brand new hair, a brand new haircut. How do you feel physically with the type of install that you have in your head? Like, what was the experience from when we installed to you sitting here? How does your body feel about that?
My body feels great for a couple of reasons. Like, I think just overall, and again, like third time's a charm. So with this being my third install with IBE specifically, like the health of my hair in between the rows, but being able to actually feel my scalp, make sure it's clean, keeping it hydrated while I'm treating my hair and the actual, extensions hair. It's one of those things you don't realize you miss until you don't have it, until you've experienced it the first time. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense because I love traditional sew-ins. I do them behind the chair all the time.
Yeah.
They have their space because they're protective. They serve a specific purpose for us. But the experience is different. Can you share the difference between having IBE installed into your hair versus having a traditional sew-in?
Absolutely. So I feel like with the traditional sew-in, even though it's protective, I mean, you know this, I have very thin hair. In general, I have very thin edges specifically. And so the braid down, no matter how protective that is, I'm always going to lose strands. Whereas this, because of the intentional placement of the roads, the tension of the beads, right, it's down to a science. It's a very, very specific science. And I feel like with that science comes a very intentional approach to my hair specifically. Yeah. And so because of that, I know my hair is protected. I know that when you take this install out, I'm not going to have a bunch of hair on the floor because my hair shed all over the place. And then, you see what I mean? And don't get me wrong, like I finally understand that shedding is normal and it's healthy. But when your hair has been braided down for 2 months and you see that amount of hair that's built up over time, you're like, wait a minute, you know what I mean? And then you feel that thinness. It doesn't set up the false expectation. IBE does not set that false expectation that like, I'm going to take my extensions out and then I'm going to feel bald-headed. That's not what this is for me. I might miss whatever the rows have added to the look, but I'm not going to touch my scalp and be like, where did my hair go? And that's a huge difference for me with, you know, the methods. And you're right, you know, a sew-in definitely has its space, but this is a more mature method for me.
Something that I feel is really exciting is the fact that I still feel like I have freedom of styling. I mean, I've twisted this hair, I've braided it, I've worn wash and goes, I've blown it out. I've done all of the things that I like to do in between installs that I've wanted to do.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Yes. Yes and yes. I just, it's the, all right, so let's talk about what I understand about IBE as a consumer. The innovation, for one, not to sound like a marketing pitch, but it's the most requested method, right?
You be listening. Huh.
I need to know
You
what's
better.
I need to know what's going on in my head, okay?
Okay. I feel seen and heard.
Well, and you are, right? Because you this is what I mean. You educate from behind that chair, and a lot of stylists don't do that. But because of these things, there's an appreciation of the magnitude of having a very high-end brand and high-end method, very safe method, tried and true. There's a validity in having something like that recognize something like this. Does that make sense? Like it's the versatility of not just like, oh yay, now I have a new method that's going to give me, you know, my silky smooth.
The only reason why I'm here. It is the only reason why I'm here.
Very good.
The only reason why I'm here.
Very
I'm so glad that you said it in that way, because I don't think, if I could just be completely transparent,
please.
I don't think people take enough time. I don't think companies take enough time. I don't think that they care enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just my...
Well, the only reason I'm here is obviously because I love you, but also because this is a company that does.
Yeah.
And so I mean, even being allowed this space to have this kind of raw conversation is a game changer. And I think the conversation just around hair and its complexity and expanding that so we're able to reach more people. Someone's going to look at this video, or someone's going to watch these, you know, videos that you've worked hard over the past couple of days. I'm going to be like, I didn't know they did that. And that's exactly like the pride that I feel about being able to contribute to this. It's not just about you and your hard work. And obviously you're my priority, but this is groundbreaking, and I'm really excited about it.
I told you it was you. I told you that. Wouldn't have had nobody else here with me but you. That's real. You're right in saying, like, wow, what an opportunity to sit and talk about it. I think a lot of times what happens is that as a texture artist, I am a woman of color. So are you. But there are a lot of people who identify with their hair the way that we see our hair, who have the same battles, insecurities. They feel like, I want to do something, but I don't think that that's for me. And
there's no intersection.
There's no intersection. And I'm glad that you're the one that's sitting here and that I get to have this conversation with you, because I feel like it's just time. It's time to put texture into the fold. I think that people are ready. I think for me, my clients are ready. They're ready. They ask about it all the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so it's just really exciting to be able to do this. So I'm happy we get to do this on behalf of IBE.
Yes.
Us talking in the way that we do, because it's us, right? You know, and that's just what we do. So I thank you. I thank you for your effort and your time.
Thanks for inviting me. This was wonderful.
100%.